And now we're live.
There we go.
Welcome to another week of the Travel FOMO Fighters, where every week we try to help you get a little better at traveling, trying to save money, trying to travel more, trying to travel for less, and with a lot less stress.
Yeah, so make sure you grab your coffee, your tea, or whatever you want. Honestly, we're just going to be talking about 15, 20 minutes about a very specific topic each week. So today we're going to be talking about AI. All right? So
Yeah, last week we talked about how to plan a trip properly with Google Maps. Today we're going to do a little recap on that, but it's a very important topic to talk about AI. And why.
right. Now, you're going to have a lot of people saying, this is how you can use AI. You can use this prompt, and this is how you can save money, and blah, blah, blah. And, I mean, I don't want to call them out, but, it's garbage. It's honestly, a lot of it is a ton of crap. And we have tested so many things, and don't get us wrong, we're not saying that AI can't be used in certain aspects, but I think there's a really important aspect of this that you need to understand, that you can't rely 100% on AI for your trip planning.
Yeah, we use AI a lot in our day-to-day, and there's certain areas where AI excels and certain areas where AI is just as good as humans, but you can speed up time. And there's certain areas where AI just hasn't caught up to speed yet. Maybe you'll watch this video in a year, maybe it's 2027 and you're watching this on YouTube and you're like, could you imagine in 2026 AI couldn't even plan a trip, and now it does. It pilots a plane.
I mean, yeah.
You don't know. But as of February of 2026, we have multiple reasons to believe that AI is still not up to the task when it comes to travel planning. And we want to walk through that very, very quickly with you.
Exactly. So first, we want to let you know a little bit about why AI is not ideal. First of all, it basically scrapes a lot of data from the internet, right? So you got to think, oh, wow, that means that it's pulling from everywhere and it's right. Well, not really, because it is taking a lot of information that is no longer valid. And we experienced this. We did a test, right? We're like, all right, let's see. We went to Paracas, Peru on one of our first trips together. We went back in 2019, and we wrote an article about it. Now, obviously, we look back and we're like, ooh, 6 years ago, a lot has changed. So we kind of anticipated that traveling there again in 2025 was obviously going to be a little bit different. But I was like, let me run a test. And I asked ChatGPT all about Paracas and Paracas National Reserve. And then when we got there, everything was wrong. Everything that ChatGPT told us was 100% wrong. And I was sitting there laughing like, are you freaking kidding me? So we went ahead and we did our due diligence with everything you could possibly know about Paracas National Reserve. And we wrote a new article on it. And we're like, oh, this is amazing. Now everyone has the right tools. Yeah, well, the thing is, when ChatGPT scrapes everything, they're not like, oh, let me see scratch your mama's article.
You know what it reminds me of? If some of you have watched The Office, Michael Scott says, Wikipedia is the best thing ever. Anyone can write about anything, so you're getting the absolute best. That's literally what it feels like to plan a trip.
So still, if you ask ChatGPT, the timetables are going to be wrong, the rules are going to be wrong, the things you can see might not even exist. So it's so important to be looking at guides that are recent. And I'm not talking about people who say, a lot of people will just change the date on their article and it was written years ago. And granted, some people are changing their stuff and some aren't. I'm not going to name names, but there's a very, very big blogger out there who wrote articles about Argentina. And he wrote an article about Mendoza and he put the prices of everything. And I was like, hold on, we're in Mendoza right now. And he was basically saying he put updated this year. And it was obviously not true because he was saying that a lunch costs 10 cents. If anyone has been to Argentina, they understand that there is massive, massive inflation here. So maybe, now it's stabilizing a little bit. But let's say last year, if you had set a price, maybe the next week, it was going to be a wildly different price. So you have to really do your due diligence and make sure that all the stuff that you're reading is actually relevant. And we're going to go into another way that you can find out that in a little bit. But basically, that's our number one reason for saying ChatGPT isn't like 100% valid, or any AI for that matter.
Before we went to reason number 2, Shanina commented on YouTube that she will now be criticizing AI just because she will be graduating thanks to AI. So just like we said before, AI is a great tool. Like we said, we use it on a daily basis. It's not a black and white question. It's more so in how and when to use AI.
Exactly. It's for very specific topics. So you can absolutely use AI for certain things, and it's going to be amazing, and it's going to help you a ton. It's going to save you time. But for travel planning, you need to know that there are certain things that can help you with and certain things that you need to not use it for.
Yeah. The second reason why AI doesn't help you much to plan your trips is because it doesn't quite understand context sometimes, just because it grabs hard data and tries to apply reasoning, but the reasoning sometimes might be a little off.
So it might have you going to 2 different places that are not remotely close to each other.
Yeah, or it will send you to a place that technically should be a cool place, but it's not. We did a little test run, and we
Again,
asked.
we did it with Argentina.
Yes.
We said, okay, we want you to build us an itinerary for Argentina. Do you know what it said? It said, go to Las Pampas. La Pampa, Las Pampas.
There's 2. You have La Pampa province and Las Pampas as a region. Las Pampas as a region is a huge area that covers part of Argentina, a little bit of Brazil as well. But La Pampa, as one of the provinces in Argentina, is known for one thing and one thing only.
According to ChatGPT, it is known for its golden rolling hills and stunning photography.
Sure, you can do stunning photography anywhere, but the only thing you'll find in La Pampa is cows. Cows and fields that are endless, where cows can walk forever, eat grass, eat great soil, and become, at the end of their life, great meat for the Argentinian people.
Basically, the equivalent of someone being like, I'm going to the US for the first time. Where do I have to go? And someone being like, Kansas. You got to go to Kansas. No hate to Kansas. Sorry, guys. But like, I think you guys know that it's not the #1 tourist destination in the US.
Yes. So that's what it is. It's not that it doesn't give you recommendations. It's that sometimes you need like some sort of validation from someone who's either been there or from a reputable source, which a lot of times doesn't happen.
It usually pulls from the top sources, right? And a lot of the top sources are actually written by people who haven't been to those places, because they're not local blogs, and they're not travelers. They're very literally writers who are paid to just write about anything that they're given. So people did it all the time with cruises. We worked on cruise ships, and they got information from people who had never been on a cruise before, and they would come and they would complain to me, and I'm like, I really hate to break it to you, but like, whoever sold you this trip has never even been on a cruise, and they have no business selling a cruise.
Yeah, and if you ask ChatGPT what to do somewhere or how to go somewhere, and then you need to double check with another source, why don't you go straight to the source instead of having to double check? Quick example, and then we'll move into the next point. We had someone once ask if they could write a blog post on our website, which is a very common practice within the blogging world, where you offer, if you're very knowledgeable about a place or about a topic, you offer other blogs if they want you to write for them.
And then you link back to them so that they can get a little bit of link juice, and they're kind of like brownie points in the blogging world.
And we had this girl offer to write a blog post about Dubai. And it's like, oh, that's
so
interesting.
I've always been very, very against anyone writing on our website.
Yeah, it's like the baby for Danny.
Yeah, it's my baby, and I take a lot of pride in it. The 2 of us together have written almost 800 articles, and I'm proud to say that no one has written those articles. Those are our personal experiences. We've written them, and obviously, for business purposes, for expansion and everything, Fede said to me, "Okay, can you just
give it a shot.
Give it a shot." And I was like, all right. So we gave it a shot. The girl gave me an article, and keep in mind, I had never been to Dubai before when she sent me this article. And I read it, and I was like, oh my God, I know more about Dubai than this girl who just wrote this article. Like, that's embarrassing.
So I'm going to ask you one of the main questions that she was supposed to answer, and you're going to give me the answer that she said. One of the main questions we wanted answered in that blog post was, what kind of food can you eat in Dubai? Because we usually give local adjustments. We tell people what kind of outlets they have, what's the currency, what's the food, like try to give the basics so that people know what kind of food they can go eat in a place. So what did she say about the kind of food you can eat in Dubai?
She said in Dubai, you can find all types of food. So it's basically a great place. And you can find any kind of restaurant you want. It's like, okay, yeah, you can say the same about many big cities, but if you're not going to give any kind of details, like, what are you really providing?
So the point is, if we hadn't filtered that, that would have been a blog post posted on the internet, and ChatGPT would have used that perhaps as a source to tell you, hey, if you want to go to Dubai, you should just try everything because they have everything, which is not useful information. And that's why sometimes AI doesn't take context properly or doesn't do proper reasoning there. So that leads us to option number 3. Feature number 3, where ChatGPT or any AI tends to fail a little bit, and that comes from the legal border standpoint. When it comes to visas, when it comes to times you're allowed to be in a place, when it comes to any legal requirements to enter a country, whether it's where you're coming from, how long you're staying for, if you need travel insurance or not. But specifically regarding visas is a huge topic because
this is so important. So important that you do not scrape AI. I can't even tell you how many posts I've seen about people who are like, oh, I didn't know I needed a visa because ChatGPT told me I didn't need a visa. Are you freaking kidding me? Like, you're actually going to listen to ChatGPT with your visa requirements? That's a serious document that you need when you travel. And you need to not only look up visa requirements, but you need to do your due diligence and make sure that you're using very reputable sources. And even
by very reputable means only the government. Because any other website that tells you something is like, should I really trust anyone but the source?
And that's coming from, in all of our articles, I actually write what the visa requirements are, but I will say, like, make sure you're double checking this because things change. Like, we are not the government, and maybe tomorrow the requirements have changed, and you can't just basically listen to anyone other than government sources.
And like anything, we want to bring examples just to show that this happens in the real world, and it's just theoretical. There was an Argentinian couple, unfortunately, that kind of recently, they planned a full trip. They wanted to visit the island of Puerto Rico, which now has become a lot more popular in 2026 after the Super Bowl. But they did it. They did it in 2025, and they wanted to go to Puerto Rico. Puerto Rico, for those of you who don't know, is part of the U.S., but it's not a U.S. state. It's considered U.S. territory. What does that mean? They cannot vote. They have different limited. But anyway,
as far as the traveler is concerned, you need to remember that they're part of the U.S. because when it comes to any kind of entry requirements, you are required to have the same documents that you would need from the U.S. So Argentinians need visas to go into the U.S. Now, that includes Puerto Rico.
ChatGPT told them, don't worry, it's an island, it's not the US, it's not a state, so you don't need a visa. So they planned a whole trip, which is pretty far and pretty expensive to plan. And they got there and they just said, you cannot go with a visa. So they lost all the reservations, the accommodation, the flight tickets, the dream of visiting and having time off and enjoying each other and enjoying themselves and like going to a paradise island. And they lost all that just because they trusted ChatGPT rather than doing a very quick search in the government website. So it is important to understand that, yes, it can help you, but you cannot take the word as sacred. You really need to do your due diligence when it comes to travel planning.
Exactly. So you can use it as a preliminary source, basically to get inspiration. Inspiration is great. I mean, it'll pull things from all different places. So that's where it can be very helpful. But again, for those finer details, you want to make sure that you're doing your due diligence. So that's why we are going to be talking about how you can plan your trip without using AI and ChatGPT and anything like that. We want to make sure that you have a nice structure, and that way you can plan your own trips and you can do it in a way that's fun, easy, and it's not going to overwhelm you.
Let's get into the positive part of today's episode, where we don't tell you all the bad things, but we tell you all the good things, like how to plan your trip. Then again, if you want like a more detailed idea of how to plan your trip step by step, that was last week's episode where we told you how to use specifically Google Maps as the main source to outline your trip and have a great idea how to. By the way, someone told us in the comments that we have been canceled in La Pampa because apparently we're not promoting tourism there. I'm sorry if someone from La Pampa is watching this. We're not saying it's a horrible province. We're just saying it's not the top highlight of the country.
I'm just saying, if my family comes to Argentina for 1 week and I'm still trying to convince a few people from my family to come to Argentina, I might send them to a few other places before I send them to La Pampa.
Yes. And so
maybe one day we will go to La Pampa though, and we will find reasons for Argentinians to take a little trip there.
exactly. So now, if you want to learn the step-by-step, exactly in detail how to plan your trip in the most efficient way, we did that last week. Look for Child FOMO Fighters episode number 6. But we're going to give you a quick highlight, a good step-by-step of how it works.
Right.
Starting with
how to plan your trip with Google Maps. So obviously first is going to be to create your map. You're going to be putting in all your pins. Obviously the whole procedure, it was in the last episode that you can go and check out.
But basically all the things you want to do, make a list and save everything in the map, just like a rough outline. After that, choose your medium of transportation.
This is something we didn't talk about last time, but it's also really important. You can't build your itinerary until you actually know how you're going to be getting around. So we had actually planned our entire trip to South Korea with the thought of us having a car. And we kind of screwed up because, we're human and we also make mistakes. We're not perfect.
South Korea and Japan are both very strict when it comes to needing an international driving permit. A lot of countries in the Americas and in Europe especially, and in some countries in Africa as well, they're very, I wouldn't say relaxed, but if you have an international driving license that has your information both in your own language and in English, they will take that as a valid driver's license, or they would tell you, if anything, if someone stops you, you might get into trouble, but it's your responsibility. They don't take any blame as a car rental company.
South Korea, that's not the case.
South Korea and Japan,
very strict.
Yes.
Same with Japan. So we had to redo our entire itinerary because, for example, on the island of Jeju, sorry, I don't know exactly how to pronounce it, but on that island, actually, there's so much to do, and it's a small island. However, when you're getting around with public transportation, you basically have to cut your entire itinerary in half because you have a lot of time getting from point A to point B. Whereas when you have a car, obviously, your itinerary is going to be completely different. And also, when you're doing a road trip, obviously road trips are our favorite because you get to go off the beaten path, you get to find hidden gems. I mean, it's just our favorite way to get around when we're traveling. But a lot of times, it won't make sense to go to that small waterfall if it's going to take you 3 hours in public transportation.
Exactly.
But if it's going to be a quick side quest on your road trip, then obviously you want to include it.
Exactly. So choose your medium transportation. Are you going to do a road trip? Are you going to go to a city where you can walk around? Are you just going to hop with planes from one place to another? Just choose that. And after that, start prioritizing. How do we prioritize? The ABC.
Yeah, this is a method that at least we think that we created it. We created it
for us.
We created it for us. I mean, it might exist out there and have some kind of crazy name that we don't know about, but we call it the ABC method, and it's something we touched on a bit last week, but it's basically prioritizing your things into 3 different categories: your A, your B, your C. Your A being those must-dos. Obviously, if you go to Cusco, you are going to go to Machu Picchu.
If you go to Paris, you want to do the Eiffel Tower. It's like you're not going to not go there.
Okay, your B is going to be, oh my God, I really want to go to Rainbow Mountain. I mean, that also might be an A for someone, but let's say B is your Rainbow Mountain. Oh my God, I really want to do that. And then C might be, oh, I saw this pretty cool set of ruins. If we have extra time, we can do it, but if not, it's not going to.
Yeah, or I saw this cafe that has a cool coffee, but I'm not going to die if I don't have it.
Exactly.
And so that's very important. Why? And we'll tell in a little bit, but plans can change. Things can go wrong. Things might take more time than you think. So you need to have your priorities straight so that you can shift very quickly and not waste time while you're traveling.
Did someone message us? Did someone comment?
No.
Okay.
We've been canceled in La Pampa, and apparently word's been spreading. So after you have your ABC, what you're going to do is you're going to create the sandwich strategy. What does that mean?
It's another thing we touched on a little bit last week. It's going to be how to start your day, how to end your day, and then how to fill in the blanks in between.
Exactly. So once you know where you start the day and where you finish, you can literally look at the map and see what's the distance between one and the other, and then you can visually see what to do in between. And so you start planning, okay, we have 7 things to do between sunrise and sunset. Out of those 7, which ones are A list, which ones are B list, and which ones are C list?
And then you're going to be anchoring those. Obviously, if there's something super important that you want to do in the middle of the day, you say, hey, I really want to be here by 2 p.m. And then you can kind of at least have anchors. It's not that you have to follow a strict schedule, but at least you kind of have an idea of what you want to do.
Yes.
It's very important. The next step is to make sure that you're giving yourself buffer time. Okay.
This is something it took us a long time to learn.
A long time, because I am a little bit crazy and I like to fit in everything, and I have a lot of FOMO, which is why I hope.
And this is why this episode is called the Travel FOMO Fighters. It's mostly an internal battle that we're fighting and we're trying to share.
So you want to make sure you're always giving yourself extra time, and the reason being, obviously, there are unexpected events. You might walk by a store that you want to stop in. You might meet a stranger that you really hit it off with and you want to hang out with. Anyway, give yourself buffer time.
Yeah.
Next one is very important. Another thing that we had to learn the hard way was using Google reviews while you're planning your itinerary. And what I mean by this is you want to be making a lot of notes and learning from certain things that you want to do. So for example, when we were doing a road trip, I had saved in the map that I wanted to go to a waterfall. Great, boom. We put it in the map. We went to go stop there. Yeah, the hike was 3 hours and it was getting dark already. So obviously we couldn't do it. Now, if I had done the research ahead of time and I looked into all the reviews on Google, I would have seen that it takes 3 hours, or that the trail was super muddy, or that something wasn't accessible. There are so many things that the reviews can help you, and you need to sort by date and make sure that you're seeing the most recent information for a place.
Or you want to go to a store or a cafe, but you go to Google reviews and the last review is from 4 years ago. So maybe they didn't update their Google, but it's closed.
Yeah, that
So
happens
if
sometimes
no
too.
one has left a review in 4 years, you're probably not in business right now.
Yeah, so I mean, use Google reviews. I mean, you don't have to do it for obviously a fountain that you have saved. Like, you don't need to look at the reviews for a fountain, but you are going to have to look at the reviews for something that has a show, something that has anything time related. Hiking especially is the number one.
Yeah.
Any kind of activity like that.
And mentioning the shows also leads us to the next point, which is your biggest priority once you have an outline of your trip is to book the experiences and activities that are time sensitive, because they tend to run out pretty quickly.
Right. So for Machu Picchu, for example, they changed their entire system. The ticketing system is much more complex than it used to be. We've also written a full article about that because we have been to Machu Picchu a few different times now. And you need to book a slot, and you need to not only book a slot for when you want to go, but for which trail you want to do. So some people want to do more than one trail. You have to book 2 separate tickets. There's limited availability because some trails are more popular than the other. So you have to book that first, and then you can start booking the rest of your itinerary. Because if you've booked your whole itinerary and then your tickets are only able to be a certain day, then of course you're gonna have to redo everything. So make sure that you're prioritizing ticketed events, anything that you need to book in advance.
And that leads to the last point of travel planning, which is to have a plan B. Remember when we talked about ABC? Well, what if you plan a full day outside walking in Central Park and it rains? And you will not go to Central Park because it's not going to be pleasant. So having your list will help you have a plan B. For example, we're going to go to New York City and we're going to do Central Park today, but if it rains, we can go to Chelsea Market, or we can go to any other. There's so many things to do. You can just.
And we're not saying that you have to have 5 different itineraries made just in case, because that's a little crazy too. But it's more so just have a list of things that you would want to do in the area in case something goes wrong, in case something's closed, in case there's a power outage, in case it's raining, something like that.
Yeah. And that's pretty much how you plan a trip. The most important thing is make a list of everything you want to do. Put everything in Google Maps with notes. We went through this last episode. Have your priority list ABC. Create like a little sandwich between where you start a day and where you finish, and have a plan B. Check reviews, other details, but that's basically the structure. If you're going to use AI, remember that AI will not replace government information like visas. Remember that AI might have things out of context and send you to a place where there's nothing to do. And remember that AI might grab information that's outdated or that is incorrect. So how do you use AI for trip planning? Use it as inspiration. Use it to know what are the best things to do in a country as a general question. Ask what's a city known for. Ask what are the cultural things that you want to learn about a certain place you go to. Just use it as general inspiration, and based on what it gives you like a first rough draft that then you can use to start actually building your
Yeah,
trip.
you could even look up best cafes in Buenos Aires, and maybe it'll give you some really good recommendations. But you are going to want to go one by one and check if, one, it's open, two, if it's actually all it's hyped up to be, and basically just use AI so that it's your first rough draft. So yeah, that is basically what we have for you for the itinerary. If this was super overwhelming for you, don't worry. We actually break this down, one, in the article that we've written. We also have a podcast where there are two people talking about everything, kind of like we are right now, but it's just a little bit slower and has, kind of different examples so that you can also hear it again and learn it again. And then also we're going to be reposting this so you can watch us again.
Yeah, if you're watching us on YouTube, both the link to the blog post and the link to the podcast are going to be in the description of the video. If you're watching us from Instagram, you can join us on YouTube. We're going live every week on YouTube and Instagram, and we're going to have all the links there, or through our link in bio, you're probably going to find either the website or the podcast as well. So next week,
we're going to be talking about how to not miss out on big events. And this could be, let's say you really want to go to Ireland and then you're thinking of going in April, but guess what? In March is St. Patty's Day. Or let's say you really want to go somewhere and they have all these really cool cultural events that you didn't know of. We are going to help make sure that you don't miss out on really cool events around the world, especially when you're planning a big trip. So
basically next week we're just going to tell you the 1,000 times that we missed out on events and the reasons why we missed out on events.
And some of the really cool ones that we actually did see because we did our due diligence.
That is true. There's been so many times where it's like, oh yeah, there was a massive, huge, one-of-a-kind millennium event yesterday. And there's other times when it's like, oh yeah, it's happening in 2 hours. And we're like, we're ready for this.
Let's go.
So we have a lot of stories to tell you, but that's going to be for next week. So we hope we deliver some value. And again, every week, if you have questions while we're going live on Instagram or YouTube, just please be sure to ask any questions. The idea is to have a conversation and not just simply a monologue of us talking.
Because we could talk all day long every day.
If you're watching this video and it's not live, you can leave a comment. We are very proactively responding comments because the goal here is simply to help you become a better traveler, to travel more, to travel for less money, to travel more often, and to understand how much more you could be traveling than you think. That a flight ticket should not be $4,000 to go anywhere. That an accommodation should not be $300 and that you can really do a lot more than you think with your current resources. So we want to just share all our knowledge, all our wins and all our losses so that you can travel more as well.
All right. Until next week.
See you next week. Bye-bye.